on infrastructure. County Road 43 in Kentville is the #1 roads and bridges infrastructure project in this riding, and broadband is the #1 throughout. So these are the local priorities that I'm seeing. Investment in tourism dollars right here in Brockville, because that's part of our future of our economy here. We need to work hard to bring them here. We need to leverage the assets that we have right here and make things happen with those dollars, leverage them.
Thank you, Mary Jean.
Right.
I'd like to remind the audience this is a respectful debate for all. Everyone is entitled to their principle, their opinion, and entitled to their speech. Please, I remind you, the first rule, no heckling, no interruption of the speakers. Let's move on now to the next question for Michelle. This will be asked by Tom Steele.
Michelle, what unique talents and insights do you have to effectively represent this riding if elected, and what can your constituents expect from your representation?
So my unique talents and insights, as a starter, I'm a stay-at-home mom right now of 4 kids. I understand what it's like to try and make things come together, make it from week to week, make it from paycheck to paycheck. I understand what the priorities of people are who are perhaps not independently wealthy. A couple of years ago, I fought very hard against the Wynn Liberals to keep our elementary school in the village of Athens open, and we were successful, and I'm very proud of that. I also have experience in the natural resources field. I have a diploma as a forestry technician, and I take environmental responsibility very seriously. I also have experience in the first response medical field, and I understand the commitment that those people put forth when they do those jobs. I understand the needs of people in these areas where they put their lives on the line every day, looking at priorities like PTSD and mental health care for them and for everyone. For me, as your MP, you'll find a strong advocate. You'll find someone who's eager to sit down with any group at all. I was proud to walk in the Gay Pride Parade in Brockville just a few months ago. There is no group that is not welcome in my office, and I look forward to building partnerships with all the groups across our riding. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Michael, comments?
Yeah, thanks very much for the question. And definitely hats off to Michelle and everyone who took part in the Save Our School programs across our riding. And that goes to where some of my experience comes from as a municipal councillor. And I learned very quickly that what your constituents want may not be what the political will is, whether it's around the county council table as a lower tier municipal councillor, going against the grain of that, but speaking for the constituents and making sure that people know that it's the people that the power rests with. My experience as a member of the Canadian Forces and as a veteran, it gives me a view and gives me insight into what the needs are of that community, and I look forward to advocating on their behalf. And it speaks to my service and my commitment to public service. Whether it's the military as a municipal councillor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Lorraine, comments?
Okay, what unique talents and insights. I'm actually the only Indigenous woman on the ballot. And I come from a tradition where we are stewards of land from generations of people who have lived here in Canada for thousands of years. Understanding that our ecosystems are interconnected and that we are interconnected with our ecosystems. I also have experience in international, national, provincial, regional, and local forums working with industry, government, civil society, Indigenous communities, and governments. I have business skills. I'm a small business owner. I'm a journalist, and I am prepared to work in any forum with anybody who wants to get things done. So I am unique. Thank you.
Thank you. John, comment.
Well, I am the only person in the country who was teaching assistant of Canada's only mathematics of gambling course for 4 years. Now you might not think that's too much, but being able to figure out and pick winners with math is a hell of an asset. How many people can pick a winner with math? Say, Mr. Spock could do it. He'd say, Captain, if you do this, plan A, you'll win 2 times out of 10. But if you go with plan B, 4 times out of 10. And Kirk goes, I feel lucky, I'm going with plan A. I relieve you of command. So the point is, the mathematics of gambling has changed the ability to determine the best move. And I possess that skill, or that talent, or that education. So I got great software, this is my point.
Thank you, John. Mary Jean, your comments, please.
I was born and raised here. I have lived here, worked here, volunteered here pretty much my whole life. I have this community in my heart. You know, a couple of people now have said to me, hey, it's great you're on the ballot, Mary Jean. The last time I voted for you, I guess they were out of the country in 2015, was when you were running for head girl at Thousand Island Secondary School in 1978. So it really is a lifelong proposition for me to have the opportunity to be your member of Parliament. I've already explained my experience in my volunteering, practicing law here. I got to know a lot of people, got to know their needs, and I helped them solve their problems, whether it's business problems, social or family problems. And I've also worked on the Hill with Minister Macaulay as his Chief of Staff in the Department of Agriculture. So I have a wide range of experience, and it would be my pleasure and my honor to bring it to Ottawa on behalf of all of you as your member of Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Closing comments.
Thank you. So again, I just want to reiterate that perhaps I don't have the political experience of others, and I'm not a career politician. I don't profess to be, but I'm here for the right reasons. I'm here because I genuinely care. I'm here because I really want to make life better for everybody in our riding. And I feel that I have the passion and drive to deliver on that. On December 3rd, I hope that you look beyond perhaps usual voting habits and beyond color and consider voting for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Our next question of the evening is directed to Michael Barrett and will be asked by Rob Tufts.
Michael, in light of recent issues with youth crime in our riding, there is much interest in examining the effectiveness of the Youth Criminal Justice Act. How would you respond to those concerns?
Thanks very much for the question. So I think it's important that first of all we engage our youth and we offer programs for them that give them something to do. They need facilities, they need recreation programs, there needs to be services available, there needs to be social services available, whether it's mental health or addiction as well. And those are things that definitely need to be in place. But you look at some of the proposed criminal justice reforms that the Liberal government is prepared to undertake, and proposing to transition from 10-year sentences for serious criminal offenses like sex trafficking in minors or participating in a terrorist offense or terrorist organization, taking that from being a 10-year indictable offense to 2 years less a day as a summary conviction is very much in the wrong direction and sending the wrong message to people. These things are deeply concerning, and I spoke to someone on the doorstep today here in Brockville whose family they're victims of crime. They're victims of a very serious crime that occurred here in the city. And they feel re-victimized Every time there's, we look and we propose to have more care and concern for the offender than for the victims and their families. And so there needs to be the services available. We need to try and keep people off that track. But once someone makes a decision and they break the law and they break the trust that the community can have in them, it's incumbent on the government to met out a fair and just repercussion for that. And I implore the government to do that with Bill C-75. And as your Member of Parliament, I would carry that message to Ottawa with great vigor. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Lorraine, comments?
Okay. Yes, I think we have to understand there is a separation between politics and justice, between governance and policing. And we have to always be mindful of that. And I think with the Justice Act, we have a point of reference, and we cannot forget as a country, if we go back to the 1930s, that our government had a tendency to criminalize our young people who were out of work because there was a lot of social upheaval. The Winnipeg strikes were an example of that. And we have to take care and be ever vigilant that we don't go back to those days when we used to round up all our young men and lock them in work camps and tie their food stamps to them digging holes in the middle of the forest in northern Canada. So I think we must always be vigilant to separate our government and our politics, and don't drag justice issues onto the floor in the House of Commons, that we write legislation and we set it in place for the justice to administer. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. John, comments?
So, how to punish youth who get into trouble because they got no money and they got no jobs? Well, yeah, you can develop more programs and more courts and more cops and better laws, or you can give them a job and some money to spend so they don't have to mug you or steal from your car or get into trouble. So back to the solution, which is jobs for the youth, so that you don't need all these programs to punish your kids.
Thank you, John. Mary Jean, comments?
So I know there have been concerns with youth crime or issues with our youth in recent times. I went to a neighborhood watch meeting about a month ago with my friend Judy, and we heard some expressions of real concern by the neighbors in our community right here in downtown Brockville. I want to give a shout out to the Brockville Watchdogs. There's a group of young people who walk the streets of Brockville at night to try to do what they can to help keep kids safe and keep them off the street, and to help solve things before they become a major problem. When you ask what can I do about it, you just have to look to people like that who are standing up strong. So, we need to invest in our kids. We need the youth employment strategy. The Liberals have doubled the Canada Summer Jobs program. Let's make sure our kids have the skills that they need in order to be useful out there in the community. And let's keep paying attention. My son Hugh is here. I used to say to him, there's no substitute for supervision. He was, so keep paying attention to our youth, and we'll make sure that we solve the crime issues on our streets.
Thank you, Mary Jean. Michelle, comments?
Thank you. So I would really want to focus here on prevention, and I would really want to look at the causes of why youth are experiencing issues with the law. And I think that really stems from looking at strengthening families. When you have stronger families, when you have parents who are not worried about how they're going to pay the bills, they can be more attentive parents. The kids that come from a home that is stable are more likely to perhaps consider better goals than crime. Another thing that the NDP is advocating for, and I certainly would as well, is the concept of free tuition. Give kids something to work towards. Give them free tuition. Let them build the careers that fit for them, and they'll give back to society tenfold. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Michael. Closing comments on the question.
Thank you very much.